Hi guys, T of Bed Crime Stories here. I hope you're having a lovely day. The deputy prosecutor in the Bryan Kohberger case filed an evidence list to show the various items prosecutors want to show at trial. Let's talk about some of that evidence. Number one are records from Dick's Sporting Goods store in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The prosecution filing states, quote, "The relevance of this information is that Bryan Kohberger purchased a black balaclava from Dick's Sporting Goods on January 10th, 2022. This mask is the same type of mask described by DM that she witnessed worn by a male in the residence on November 13th, 2022, end quote. Obviously, DM refers to one of the surviving roommates, Dylan Mortensen, who is the only living witness to lay eyes on the perpetrator. She described him as having bushy eyebrows, and those eyebrows would have been very apparent since that's one of the few facial details that she would have been able to see with him wearing this mask. 2. The prosecutors want to introduce Kohberger's DeSales University records to, quote, show defendants' knowledge of crime scenes, end quote. We know that Bryan Kohberger studied criminal justice at DeSales in Allentown, Pennsylvania. One of his professors there was Dr. Catherine Ramsland. Ramsland is a professor of forensic psychology as well as a nonfiction author who has written extensively about serialist BTK, aka Dennis Rader. We also know that DeSales has what is called a crime scene simulation house located on a rural street just south of the campus, and that's where criminal justice students go, and they are able to walk through a simulated crime scene as part of their education, and obviously it is likely that Bryan spent time in the crime scene simulation house. 3. Prosecutors also want to show video footage from Floyd's Cannabis Company, allegedly showing Bryan Kohberger driving to the crime scene in Moscow, Idaho, from his student apartment in Pullman, Washington. The prosecution wrote this of the video footage, quote, "The state may rely on video footage from November 13th, 2022, at around 3:02 a.m. showing a white sedan on State Route 270 between Pullman, Washington and Moscow, Idaho, approximately 1 hour before the crime," end quote. So this cannabis store is 6.5 miles away from Kohberger's former apartment. Number 4. A video camera from the Sunset Mart convenience store in Moscow, Idaho, allegedly captures Kohberger driving to and from the crime scene. The store is a half a mile away from the crime scene house at 1122 King Road. The prosecution wrote, quote, "The state may rely on video footage around 3:28 a.m. showing the suspect vehicle, the area of the crime scene prior to the crime," end quote. It also has video footage from the same mart in Moscow at about 5:25 a.m. as Kohberger was allegedly fleeing the crime scene. What's interesting is that they're saying the footage showing Kohberger fleeing the crime is from about 5:25 a.m. But we know that the perpetrator left the crime scene house right around 4:20 a.m. So if that is really Kohberger's vehicle fleeing past the Sunset Mart in Moscow at 5:25 a.m., what was he doing in Moscow from 4:20 a.m. until 5:25 a.m. If he is found to be the perpetrator, was this when he stripped off the black clothing that was likely saturated and that was worn during the crime? What is also odd is that the police have said the white sedan was captured on cameras in Pullman, Washington just before 5:30 a.m. So Googling directions from this Sunset Mart in Moscow to Kohberger's apartment, it said the fastest route is 19 minutes because of current traffic conditions. But let's say even without traffic, could Kohberger have sped past the Sunset Mart in Moscow at 5:25 a.m. and then been picked up by cameras in Pullman, Washington just 5 minutes later? I mean, how fast can you drive the 10 miles from Moscow to Pullman? To me, the timeline seems a little bit off, and I'd like to know where exactly he was from, say, 4:25 a.m. until that 5:25 a.m. point when the car supposedly is picked up on the camera. Where did he spend that hour? The fifth piece of evidence is video surveillance footage of Kaylee Goncalves and Madison Mogen socializing in the hours before they headed home. It includes video from the Corner Club bar from 10:20 p.m. to 1:37 a.m., video footage from Cafe Artista from 1:40 a.m., and the bagel shop video footage from 1:40 a.m. to 2 a.m. 6. Prosecutors also want to share video footage from a Costco in Clarkston, Washington at about 11:50 a.m. on November 13th, 2022 to show Kohberger's vehicle and actions that he took after the crime. 7. Kohberger's driver's license, which was issued from Washington in 2022, the same year as the crime. Prosecutors want to introduce that driver's license to show that he could, 1, drive a car, and also 2, to show his likeness to the description that Dylan Mortensen gave. So that license and the photo on it of Kohberger will be a crucial part of the evidence trying to show that Bryan Kohberger had really bushy eyebrows at the time that that license was issued in 2022. 8. Prosecutors are also planning to show that cringy selfie photo that Kohberger took of himself in front of a shower just hours after the crime. Kaylee Goncalves' father has said that he believes Kohberger's stance in that selfie is one of defiance. Her dad said this, quote, "That's an F.U. to Idaho. I just went into your state. I just unalived your kids in their beds, and you're not going to catch me. I'm just going to shower up here, clean off the last bit of evidence," end quote. So there we see part of what the prosecution is going to try and use against Bryan Kohberger during his trial. Let me know what you think of this evidence in the comments. Please like, share, and subscribe. Here's today's quote. "Walk a mile in my shoes, see what I see, hear what I hear, feel what I feel. Then maybe you'll understand why I do what I do. Until then, don't judge me." And one of my favorite songs that I want to share with you is by Mick Jagger. It was on one of his solo albums, and it's called "God Gave Me Everything." Check it out. I think it's a really good tune. And as you'll be able to see, I am sort of a classic rock and roll girl, but I may surprise you as well because I actually like a lot of different genres of music. Now, please write that song down because if you want to get your hands on the Ancestry DNA kit that I have, and I have a contest going for, you need to write down all the songs that I mentioned this week in my videos to enter your name to be possibly pulled from a hat and sent the Ancestry.com DNA kit. All right, I will see you next time on Bed Crime Stories. Love you guys. Oh, and by the way, I am now offering 3 different levels of membership. Take a look, see what you think, and please consider purchasing one. See you next time.